Hello and welcome back. Today I have a video that many people have requested. I'm going to take you inside of our minimalist kitchen here at Arrow Hill Cottage. Some of you watching today's video are aware that I had a blog long before I started my YouTube channel, and on that blog I shared all of the details and all of the planning, little nuances that went into designing our home here, Arrow Hill Cottage, and that's how this all kind of got started. And one of the spaces that seemed to resonate with people a lot, something that people were interested in, was the design of our kitchen. And I think one of the main reasons for that was because we decided to go with, instead of a custom cabinet maker, that would be a local cabinet maker that could make cabinets to the specifics of our kitchen, we decided to go with an online company called Cliq Studio, and they're kind of considered a semi-custom cabinet company, and people were really interested in that. They kind of wanted to see how that process worked out. I've shared on the blog the cost of these cabinets, but I have yet to share how these cabinets have held up. And so now that we've been living in our space for a couple of years now and using this kitchen on a daily basis, I wanted to give you an update of how things are holding up and also kind of share with you the process of installing the cabinets and everything like that. So those of you who have been requesting an update, this is for you. First, I want to talk a little bit about the layout of the space and give you a brief tour of how it functions. So our main living area in the cottage, I would say, is semi-open concept. Our living room and our dining room are one large room that are connected, and then the kitchen is sort of an offshoot space that is directly off of the living room. And between the living room and the kitchen, we have these beautiful antique built-in cabinets that my husband lovingly restored. I found these cabinets at an antique shop, and they were kind of buried behind lots and lots of other things, and I just knew that they could be perfect if we spent the time to refinish them. So I'm really happy that my husband did that. One of them is more of a curio style cabinet. It has special glassware, stemware in it, and the other is kind of more of a casual bookcase where we put like coloring books, devotion books, things like that we use on a daily basis. So these come in very, very handy, and I think they also look very nice. The kitchen itself is a basic U-shaped layout. I decided, because of the constraints of space, the kitchen is 13 feet 6 inches wide by 10 foot 6 inches deep, so it's not a real large space. And I decided that instead of trying to work in an island, which is something that's very trendy and popular right now with new home design, I just didn't think that it would give us the best use of this space that we had. And so instead we went with a simple U, and what that does is it really makes the kitchen super functional. It allows us to have what's called the work triangle, which is the space between the stove and the sink and the fridge. It sort of forms a triangular space that you can kind of move between, and it's just very efficient. And that has worked out really well for us. The centerpiece of the kitchen is definitely our farmhouse sink, and this is a classic 1930s Kohler sink. It is vintage, it is not reproduction. The Cliff Notes version of the story, which I've shared here before on the channel, is that it was in my husband's grandparents' farmhouse. They remodeled in the 1960s, took it out, laid it in the woods, and it sat there for probably 50 years until we saw it and asked if we could have it set aside for us for when we built this home. And so we did just that. We had attempted to do a finish coat on it because the sink itself did have some rust spots. It had a couple chips, and so we thought we could probably try to repair that ourselves and just do one of those self-leveling coating systems that you can buy at the home improvement store. That system worked great in our powder room, which is used somewhat infrequently, but here in the kitchen, where the sink is used multiple times during the day, it really has not held up very well. The basin of the sink has some scuffing, and the paint has pretty much been removed anywhere where the water hits on a regular basis. And so eventually we will have to probably have either it professionally redone, or we'll have to try some other product and hope that it works better. It is a bit disappointing that this didn't work out, but that's the way that houses are. There's always things to be done, and so this is just another classic tale, I guess. So we really did work our design of the kitchen around the sink. We found a window size that would fit perfectly above the sink. It's basically the same dimensions width-wise, and it's a square window. This is the west side of our home, and we also put a window on the south side of the home just so that the kitchen would have a ton of natural light throughout the day. I rarely need to have the lights on until after the sun's gone down, and it just makes for a very cheerful and bright space to work in. So once we had determined on paper that we wanted the sink to be the centerpiece of the work triangle, we wanted to figure out what cabinet sizes could work the rest of the space. And remember, this is 13.6 wide by 10.6 deep. And so we called upon Cliq Studios and their designers to help us with the layout, and they were very proficient in all of that. They also talked to us about the different finishes that we could choose, and I knew I wanted to go with a white cabinet because I wanted it to complement our wood flooring. And we have a solid wood flooring here. I just didn't want to have too much wood. I didn't want a wood finish on the cabinets because I knew that the wood flooring was going to be a large part of our main level. And so we went with a white cabinet. This is the Rockford style cabinet from the signature line of Cliq Studios. And this is an actual sample that we received when we were kind of figuring out the design. And this color is cloud white. We went with cloud white on this, painted cloud white. The thing I like about the sample is, first of all, it shows you the color, but it also shows you the construction process. It shows you how it's put together, shows you the thickness of everything, and to us it seemed to be really good construction and really solid materials. So once we had worked with Cliq Studio on the entire layout design of the kitchen, they were very helpful, very good communication throughout the entire process. We decided to go ahead and order our cabinets, and the total cost of these cabinets was right around $5,000. That's all the kitchen cabinets that you see here. We did end up ordering a couple of different areas of cabinets for our house, including the laundry room and a little snack bar in the basement. But in this room, the cabinets alone in this room was $5,000, which I thought was pretty amazing. I have a breakdown of all the items that are included in the blog post, which I'll link below, that kind of shows what all is included in that $5,000 amount. But we were pretty happy with that price, considering it probably would have been about double if we had gone with the fully custom cabinet maker. There are a couple items that Cliq Studios did offer that we did not purchase and is not part of that $5,000 amount. One of the things is this range hood here above the stove, and I will leave a link for that range hood down below in the description as well. They do offer range hoods through Cliq Studio, but it was going to be quite a bit more expensive, and so we opted instead to purchase from this other site, and we're really happy with how this all turned out. It came to us as a bare wood, and so we had, again, that paint match done with the cabinetry, and so we were able to paint it to match the cabinetry. So it looks great just where it is. I love the curves. It kind of gives a bit of a softness to the space, and it does the function well, which is to get all of the smells and the steam and things out of this kitchen, and so that is definitely a plus as well. Another thing that was not included in that price was the hardware for all of the cabinets, namely the pulls on the drawers and the doors, and they do offer a line of cabinet pulls through Cliq Studios, but we found them to be a bit more expensive and they didn't have exactly what we wanted, and so we found this hardware at our local home improvement store, and my husband installed them later on in the process. And lastly, we opted to not use Cliq Studios' line of countertops. And at the time we were working with them, there was only one company that you could use to purchase countertops from, and they were associated with Cliq Studios, but not the same company. It was Cambria. That was the only company that you could use. Granted, this was 2 or 3 years ago. Since then, I don't know if they've begun offering other options, but at the time, that was the only thing that was available. And Cambria is a great product, but it does come at a slightly higher price tag. And so we opted instead to find a local countertop company who was able to get us these beautiful countertops. We're really happy with the selection that we made. Our countertops are quartz, and they are a hard surface, they look great, and they were not super expensive. All right, so let me go back and talk a little bit about the ordering process and the delivery and then the installation of these cabinets. So we ordered them months in advance because I didn't want to have to worry about any delays or shortages or anything like that. Again, this was back in 2019. I don't know how that relates in today's terms in 2021, where there's been tons of problems with delays. But at the time I ordered them in advance thinking it might take longer than it did. The cabinets got made ridiculously fast. They were ready well before we needed them, and our construction was kind of slower. And so they were able to hold on to those cabinets for us, thankfully, until we were ready for them. And then when it came time for them to deliver, they drove right up to our driveway with this big semi and just unloaded all the cabinets, and they each came in their own box, so it wasn't, you know, overly bulky. Everything was fully assembled, and basically they just brought the boxes into the garage and they sat in the garage until we were ready to install them in our house. So we could have asked our contractor to work on the installation of the cabinets, but we felt like we might be able to handle it because we knew that the house was new and fairly square. If you're working with an existing home that may have settled or is like an older home with walls that might not be quite square, it might be more difficult for you. But we thought since we had a fairly squared space that we'd be able to install these cabinets ourselves without too much difficulty, and so we thought we'd give it a try. My father-in-law was instrumental in the entire process, helping us get everything in just the right spot, and it actually was not too difficult. There was a little bit of shimming involved here and there, but overall the installation of the cabinets went very smoothly, and it probably was done in about a day or two. When it came time to install the sink, my husband and father-in-law created a nice base for it because the sink is extremely heavy and we wanted to make sure that the weight was evenly distributed on the floor. And so they made this base, set the sink on top of it, and then through Cliq Studios we had ordered some filler pieces, like some panel spots, and also some cabinet doors. So we were kind of able to make our own little cabinet here underneath the sink. And then we accented that with these turned posts that are actually porch posts that we cut down to size. It kind of just gives it a little bit more of a soft feel, and it gives it sort of that farmhouse cottage vibe as well. Because of the rounded edges on the sink, we opted to set it slightly further out than the cabinet faces, which meant that behind the sink there was going to be a spot for a nice wide windowsill, which is great. It's a deep windowsill that we can put plants on, I can put decorations on. I always knew that if we built a house, I wanted to have stainless steel appliances, and so we did just that. We went with a KitchenAid stove and fridge, and our stove is a gas stove. It's something that I thought about a lot. We'd never had a gas stove before, but I knew that I liked the look of this stove the best over the electric, and I totally love it now. It functions great, it heats things up quickly, and I can't imagine now cooking with electric. We really love our gas stove. And our fridge was a huge upgrade for us too. We have the pantry style where you can open both the doors and just get a clear view of everything that's inside, and then the freezer drawer below, which has served us well. We do have a water dispenser inside. Just gives it a little bit of more of a clean look instead of having that water and ice maker just right on the face of the appliance. It's just hidden kind of inside of the fridge itself. I'm not gonna go through every single drawer and cabinet and show you what's all in there. Maybe in a future video I will get the nerve to do that, but if you want to see a little bit more in depth of what's inside of all of these cabinets, you can watch a previous video, which I will link down below and in the cards above. And basically we have it set up so that we have a small pantry area because we don't have a separate pantry, and then we also have storage for all of our plates and our cookware, and of course our silverware. So it's very, very basic layout. The quality of the cabinets I feel is very good. The inside of each of the cabinets is a melamine product, so it's easily cleanable, it's easily wipeable. They have soft close drawers and doors, which is great. That's kind of a standard thing now. And I'm really happy with the quality of everything. I'd say the only thing I wasn't super happy about is in the Lazy Susan, the little clips that hold up the trays or the rotating part of the Lazy Susan. Those are just plastic, and I wish that they would be metal. That's probably my only real complaint about the cabinets themselves. I feel like that could have been upgraded a bit because it seems a little cheap to me. Now the real question is, how has the cabinetry held up now that we've been using it for a couple of years? And really it has held up very well. Remember that I do have 5 children. They're not super careful on everything in our home. And so we do have a few scratches and dings, especially in the Lazy Susan cabinets, because they're just a little bit more awkward to open and things get scuffed up that way when they just kind of slam against another door. We have some paint that I'm going to be touching that up with, but it hasn't been noticeable enough or bothered me enough to really deal with it at this point. Just a few small little scuffs here and there. So overall, everything has held up really well. There isn't anything that's like falling off hinges or drawers that have come unaligned or anything like that. Everything really has just been the way it has been since the day that we installed it. So that has been great. So I'd say overall, my review of Cliq Studios is that it is a good company. They are great to work with. The designers were very helpful. The delivery was quick and efficient. Nothing came damaged. The installation was easy. We did it ourselves. That is not included with Cliq Studios. And it's been 2 years since we've been using these cabinets on a regular daily basis, and they've held up very well. So the quality I feel like is very good. So I give them a thumbs up on that. Again, I'm not sponsored by them. I don't get any commission from them if you decide to buy through them. I don't get any kickbacks or anything like that. This is just my own personal review of how we feel about the cabinets, and we do like them a lot. As I mentioned, there are a few projects in this kitchen that we will be doing in the future, and they will be future videos. I do want to add subway tile. We already have it purchased. It's been sitting in our garage for the last 1.5 years. But I want to add that around the perimeter of the room part way up, and then above that level we will put a couple of floating shelves that are made out of the trees that were harvested from the site. And on those shelves is where we're going to put our everyday dishes that we use on a regular basis, and maybe some servingware as well. I also want to add a little bit of a skirting on the sink just to kind of soften things a little bit. So there you go. That's a little overview of our minimalist kitchen. Again, we just like to keep it really simple, really clean. We keep the counters clear so that we can use it for workspace. And it's nice and light and bright and open, which functions well for our family of 7. And we are very pleased with our space. If you have any specific questions about anything that you've seen in today's video, or if you just want to know just some little detail that I may have missed or left out, please comment below and I will respond as soon as I can. Thanks so much for watching today, and I hope that you'll stop by the cottage again really soon.